There's one player that I had to pick to be the MVP.
I get it. I just still can't believe it.
I feel like it's pretty indisputable at that point, man.
I don't think FaZe are a top 4 team anymore.
It is blasphemy.
I predicted this outcome. What's good, everybody? It's been a minute, but welcome back to another edition of Contesting the Point. I'm your host, Malik Forté, still coming down off the high that was the New York Home Series. I got Nameless and Miles with me on the show. Yo, guys, you pretty surprised with this weekend's outcome?
No, I'm not surprised. I called it like before the final started. I was like, I guarantee it. Huntsman versus FaZe, they're going to tucker each other out. They're going to be so tired going to that finals. And it was me and Studdy in the team speak. We called it. We're like, it's going to be a 3-0.
Always predicting this stuff right. What about you, Nameless?
I was definitely a little bit surprised. I mean, the way that Sunday turned out was absolutely insane. I don't think anybody expected 3-0s, like 9-0 map count, or New York, let alone to go 6-0 map count, beating teams the way that they did. The meta change was just insane. You saw a lot of teams getting better, a lot of players individually performing the best we've seen. I was not expecting this whatsoever. You know, I thought it'd be a little bit more of the same, FaZe dominating, Huntsman dominating, but it was a bit different.
Yeah, definitely different. It was shocking, but a whole lot of fun. So we're going to deep dive into all that in just a bit. But before we do, let's take a look at the rules for those of you who are not privy to those. I'm going to present a headline from the CDL. I'm then going to give a hot take on that story. One of the guests will then defend that hot take while the other attacks it. I'll award points for convincing arguments, and after 3 stories, whoever has the most points wins 60 seconds to pop off in our ASTRO listen up moment.
Sounds great to me, man. I'm ready to go.
Love it. Love it.
Is this the first time we've been on an episode together, Miles? I think it is.
I think so. I think maybe, yeah. I think there maybe has been a chance before, but now it's just you and me, dude. Let's do it.
Dude, we have Contesting the Point every day in the team speak. You know, that's all they just need to record.
I love it. I love it. Well, this one the people will actually get to see. So jumping right into the story, the New York Subliners are your champions of the New York Home Series. This is their first event win, and they're the second team to defend their home series event. The other being the Atlanta FaZe, who won their home series way back in February. New York looked, to put it lightly, unstoppable. They only dropped one game all weekend, and that was versus Chicago in the winners match of the group stage, which went all the way to game 5. But the Subliners were able to run it back through the lower bracket. Then they were able to take out Toronto in the semifinals, and then they got the revenge on Chicago in the finals with a clean 3-0 sweep. Really, everyone on New York was popping off. But personally for me, there was one player that stood out above the rest. My hot take is that Zuma was the MVP of the New York Home Series. Nameless, Zuma went crazy this weekend, bro. If not him, who else could it have been?
I'm going to attack this one, and it's difficult to attack because Zuma played fantastic, but every single player on this team was basically on point. They had one of the highest team KDs we've seen at any CDL home series. Every single player had their moments, but if there's one player that I had to pick to be the MVP, it would be Accuracy. I thought Accuracy had a fantastic weekend. He was number 2 in overall damage dealt for the entire weekend. As an AR player, as a main AR player, he had the highest KD, or second highest KD, excuse me, but to Wuskin, who didn't make it as far as Accuracy. So I have Accuracy as my MVP. I just thought that he was a standout player throughout the entire weekend. His 1v3 clutch was incredible. You all know that he is also the captain of this team. In game, he's commanding and letting people know where to go. Clearly, he did a good job as they won 6-0 in both their matches on the final day. So not even dropping maps, going off like that, and being the captain of the team, he takes my MVP vote.
Yeah. You know what? Accuracy, he also have a lot of those pivotal kills where I feel like it just completely changed the tempo of the matches that they were playing, especially that one against Chicago when they were losing. Temp was underperforming. It was Accuracy who kind of made some of those pivotal plays that turned that match around and took it to a game 5. So I think that's a really solid case that you're making for Accuracy there, Nameless. Miles, what do you have to say about that?
Look, I think there is a very strong case to be made for almost anyone on the roster. You know, New York really did look like one of the best teams in the league right now. That was their event to win, and Man, they did a fantastic job. For me, though, it still is Zuma. You know, from start to finish all weekend long, he had played brilliantly in almost every series they were a part of. He has the most overall kills in the entire tournament at 360. That's a lot of kills over 3 days. And without Zuma, we talk about accuracies, clutch plays. Zuma was making those sort of plays day in, day out, all throughout the home series. So I still just believe that, like, without a player like Zuma, hitting those flanks, making those crucial kills, creating that space on the map, running with the MP5 when he can, like, that was a guy who was making it work in a meta that wasn't geared up for his success. I just have so much respect for the dude. He went all the way. He pushed his boys through that finish line in such a powerful way in the finals as well. That's where it mattered the most. Yeah, sure, they didn't drop a map, you know, on Sunday all day, but without Zuma's individual prowess, the whole team had to make it work, but he was still atop of a very, very beautiful mountain on that Sunday.
Yeah, I think my argument to that about Zuma, you know, opening up the map for accuracy, I think they all were. I mean, Mac only had 13 less kills than him, so he's right behind him, and he had a way higher KD as well. So it's not like he was
second place,
playing at a super.
Bro.
Yeah, but it was
second place, bro.
But it's just to argue the point of, like, is Zuma like single-handedly opening up the map for him? I don't know. I think Zuma did fantastic, though. I mean, the one point that, you know, I thought you were going to bring up was the first bloods that he got, which was huge for the team. I just think that the plays that accuracy makes are so important for the squad. You think about the very end of that gun runner hardpoint where accuracy went up top, waited, took his time to get that kill for them to break in and clutch up on map number 1. Like, that to me those are the plays that win you tournaments, and he's the player who's making those plays. But I mean, like you said, I think you make an argument for any of them.
I will make a point as well, and accuracy as well, dude. Like, he was underperforming, you know, up until like the last home series we saw, like in the Paris home series. We haven't seen accuracy look very strong recently, and now he's looking like a standout player for the team. Like, this has been the greatest turnaround for New York. I think everyone gets points. I think we all get points because these boys were disgusting. The whole team was incredible.
Yeah. No, everybody should get points. There was another point that I thought you guys were going to bring up too about the fact that Zuma was playing SMG.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to elaborate on that a little more?
Well, the way the meta works right now, it's a much more AR heavy meta. Like, we're looking at more of the assault rifle players as opposed to those submachine gun players. So we're seeing Zuma running that submachine gun in a meta that was not built for him to succeed. So, and this is a trait we've seen across a couple of players right now. But for Zuma to be doing as well as he had done, to be able to find that space, close that distance, and make those plays with, you know, I mean, it's not like he's running around with like a staple gun, but like he's not as equipped. He's not basically set up to succeed as much as he has done in the past, and he was succeeding, man. He was brilliant.
Malik, before you award points, just keep in mind that Miles didn't say these in his opening statement. The point about the first bloods and the point about the SMG was brought up after, so we had to, you know, bring it up for Miles to say it. So
just fight my fight for me, brother. I'm cool with that.
Actually, you know, what's really funny about this round was because, you know, my hot take, of course, I'm going to lean a little bit closer to my own opinion. And Miles definitely supported that very well. But Miles, something else he did say about accuracy that, you know, I really never really considered was the fact that he hasn't been playing as well as he did this weekend. I think there's something to be said about him playing so well this weekend and then the team winning the home series event. That should say something to the value that accuracy actually does bring to the team, which pretty much makes me want to give this round to Nameless. Because I feel like that's kind of huge for New York. They needed these breakthrough performances from players like accuracy, and when they got it, the results are pretty much, you know, in front of us all. They got a W. So with that being said, I'm going to give this round to you, Nameless. 6 points to 5 is our count at the end of round 1. Moving on to our next story, the New York Home Series was the first time we've seen the new meta in effect. Now, recently, Modern Warfare received a patch that changed up how the MP5 was balanced. It used to be a do-it-all gun, but now it's been nerfed pretty hard, bringing an end to the 4 sub-meta. All over the New York Home Series, you saw teams running the 3 AR and 4 AR compositions, which made some teams like the Subliners and the Toronto Ultra look pretty good, and other teams like the Atlanta FaZe look pretty bad. So my hot take for this topic is that under this new meta, the Atlanta FaZe are not looking like a top 4 team. Miles, given the performance that we saw from Atlanta, how could you say otherwise?
I don't think that FaZe fall out of the top 4 whatsoever. I still feel like even with the way the meta's changed, on their very worst day, FaZe are still, without a shadow of a doubt, in that top 4. I mean, look at the way they performed this weekend. Sure, they got 3-0'd by Huntsman. Yeah, they lost to Toronto Ultra, but still, these were very, very close games that came down to some incredibly decisive plays that made the difference. I feel like still with the meta change, aBeZy, one of the best SMG players in the league right now, he looks better than ever on that FaZe roster. FaZe have still got a ton of time to practice with this new meta. This is the first event they've had with it, and going into champs, going into the next 2 home series, they've got 1 more home series to play at. I guarantee it, FaZe will look a lot more FaZe-like they have done in the older days, like they did do a few times this weekend, where they will absolutely stand down, disgusting. They will get back to that top form, but to say that they're not a top 4 team is blasphemy right now. It is blasphemy.
I don't know. I don't think it's blasphemy. I don't think FaZe are a top 4 team anymore. I mean, over the course of the last few months, we've seen them get continuously tested. They're going to Game 5 against teams that a top 4 team should not go Game 5 against. We've watched FaZe fall from being the best team in the game to who knows where we place them now. The Mutineers, you have to put them above FaZe 100%. FaZe, or Huntsman just 3-0'd FaZe, bopped them off the stage. And the Subliners also look amazing, right? Like, you have to put the Subliners above them right now, in my opinion. So I have those 3 teams above them, and we haven't seen Empire. So I think in this new meta, Empire is going to be better than FaZe. You have players like Crim, like Clay, who are fantastic with the M4. It's only going to make them even better. You got to think Shotzzy as that MP5 is going to be aBeZy-like. He's going to be Zuma-like, if not better than them, as an MP5 going off. So they have a great dynamic and a great team for this meta. I think that those teams are better than FaZe right now. The way FaZe performed this weekend was just terrible. I mean, the last 2 times we've seen them in a match versus a top team versus the Mutineers, they got absolutely 3-0 smoked. We saw them play the Huntsman, 3-0 smoked. They're not winning maps against the top teams. How can you put them in the top 4? I just don't see it being a thing right now. Maybe over the course of the next few weeks, they can get better going into champs, but I can't put them in my power rankings as top 4 after what I've seen.
Is there anything to be said about the fact that they haven't beaten they've beaten New York every time they faced them, even though New York has taken them to a Game 5? I mean, I feel like it's still pretty difficult for me to put them above or put them below, say, a New York team when New York's never beat them.
Even with the current meta, man, I don't see it. I don't see it, Zeus. You're gonna push them outside top 4? I don't see it.
Absolutely. Dude, think about it. We saw them get 3-0 smoked in the worst performance of a team by the Mutineers in the grand final, destroyed. And we just saw them get 3-0'd again. They're putting on bad performance after bad performance. With the meta change, New York looked unstoppable yesterday. They 3-0'd the team that 3-0'd FaZe. I think that New York looked great, and the last time New York and FaZe played was the event prior to this where the meta was completely different. We're talking about the new meta. That is the statement. That is the hot take under this new meta. And under this new meta, they look horrible. Under this new meta, they've gotten smoked. So that's why I don't have them in my top 4.
Okay, so if we're calling out the top 4, you're putting Florida above FaZe, you're putting Dallas above FaZe, you're putting Chicago above FaZe, and you're putting New York above
Absolutely.
FaZe.
Those are all the teams I'm putting above FaZe in this current new meta. I just think you look at the weekend and you think Empire would have definitely done better than FaZe.
Okay. All right. Miles, any counter to any of that?
No, I actually agree with Empire looking good, but I'm still on the fence about whether New York should be above FaZe in the situation. I haven't got enough data to work with. I haven't talked to Chance as much about this.
What do you have to do? Like, how bad they dominated Sunday is like at their own home series. Like, what more could they have done?
I get like the triangle of like, well, if Huntsman 3-0'd, if Huntsman got 3-0'd by New York and New York 3-0'd, like, I get it. I just still can't believe it. I still can't believe that in an era where there should be, more M4s on the map, where you've got players like Sim, you've got players like Selly and Major Maniac. Like, these are some of the best M4s like you can think of. How are they not succeeding? How are they not going to be a good team in this match?
Also, think about it like this. Toronto beat FaZe, and then New York 3-0 smoked them too. So it's just like FaZe just couldn't get to New York.
I get it. The power ranking makes sense. It just doesn't make sense to me when I look at the rosters.
Another thing for my argument, the last thing I'll say, is FaZe and New York have played a few times now, right? And they played in the previous meta where New York wasn't as good and where FaZe was better. And they went Game 5. So it's not like New York wasn't contesting FaZe when they were in a worse meta for their team and FaZe was on top of their game. So you're telling me a better New York in a meta for their team and a worse FaZe in a meta not catered for their team. Who do you think's winning that matchup?
I'll take that. He's made a very good point. Give this man the points.
Yeah, I got to give
that
I
shit
feel like it's pretty indisputable at that point, man. That's a good point. That's a good point that you make there, Nameless. I love New York and and I love Atlanta. I love both of these teams so much. I want to see them play under this new meta so bad, especially off of that last point of yours. But I'm going to go ahead and give you this round, Nameless. 4-3 is the count for this round, bringing our total to 10-8 going into round 3. So that does it for the New York Home Series. But let's go ahead and jump forward because we're rapid fire for the next 2 weekends. We've got the London Home Series coming up this weekend and the Toronto Home Series the next weekend. So there's plenty of Call of Duty League as the regular season comes to a close. I do want to talk about the London Home Series, however. It's stacked with New York, Florida, and Dallas all fighting to secure the top team positions in the league. My hot take is that Florida will not win the London Home Series. Nameless, I think Florida's going to be a little rusty personally, but why do you think they're going to come up short?
Okay, so let me take you guys on a history lesson throughout Call of Duty. Call of Duty esports and competitive has been around, at least to my knowledge, since like 2006. We started having events in like 2011. So 10 years since there's been pro teams, solid teams. There has only been a three-peat in Call of Duty, I believe, to my knowledge, 4 times. I mean, you're thinking Optic Dynasty, Complexity, you're thinking Farico, and you're thinking Rise, right? Those are the teams that have done a three-peat. I don't think the Florida Mutineers are going to win 3 events in a row. Typically, what stops teams from chaining events is meta changes, right? We just had a big one. I don't know if Florida's going to be able to do it. They're going to have to learn a lot in a short period of time. We know that Awakening is a fantastic aggressive SMG player. If he has to use an M4, who knows what's going to happen on a consistent basis. I just don't think the Florida Mutineers have what it takes to win that many tournaments in a row. I think people are going to figure them out by now. And if you think to their last 2 tournaments, they were really close together and they entered their honeymoon phase. This is the time where they're going to start having a little bit of problems on the squad that they have to conquer. And now that might be a good thing for them to conquer those going into champs, but I don't think they're going to conquer them right now. I think that they're going to fall short to either Empire or New York.
You know, that's very interesting that you bring that up. They seem pretty comfortable under the last meta, so much so that they were winning back-to-back home series events, but going into this new meta, it's kind of hard to know what to expect from Florida, at least in my opinion. But Miles, what do you have to say about that?
So I get where Nameless is coming from, and it's a really good point. Like, to actually go back to back is going to be very difficult. And for Florida, I think it will also be a very challenging task based on the way the meta is right now. This is a submachine gun heavy team that have built themselves around not just the online sphere, but also the way the game currently plays. Do they have to make a big shift now, a big change? Yeah, I think they do. I don't know whether they have a strong enough third AR presence right now at this point in time, but to say that someone like Awakening or even like a Havoc or Frosty, these MP5 players, the way we've seen players like Zuma, the way we've seen like, Abizi shine, these guys will shine even brighter, even more dangerous, creating even more opportunities for their squads. This is going to be a team that could actually be better than they have ever looked. Alongside maybe the likes of Empire, who also already have a very strong stable of assault rifle players, this could be the most devastating meta change for everyone else outside of that top 2 spot. So I don't see it. I don't see it not happening. I see it definitely being a grand final between Florida and Dallas, but at the same time, still giving the edge to Florida. I'm still doing it, man. I think they've got this. I think they're going to be the team to go back to back. Yeah.
Wow, you're giving them the three-peat. You're giving them.
I'm doing it, man. I believe.
Nameless, anything you want to say to counter that, man?
I mean, I definitely think it's possible. It's happened before, right? But those teams were, in a lot better spot than I think Mutineers are. I don't see it happening. I mean, I think Empire is going to get better, and we just saw New York play absolutely lights out, and who knows what these teams are going to bring to the table. Like, going into it, like, I even think that you can go as far as to say that New York could be a favorite just from what we've seen from them on the Sunday. I don't think Mutineers are going to win the tournament.
It's going to be a good tournament.
It's going to be a good tournament.
It's going to be a good tournament.
Definitely. If we're talking history, as far as the season goes, it has been Florida who's gotten the edge on Dallas in these recent matches. But, man, the meta definitely leaves a lot to be questioned. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm going to give this round to Miles because I do think that Florida, they're a team that's shown some resilience throughout this season. So I'm throwing the Mutineers some bell. I'm throwing you some bell, Miles. I'm giving you this round 4-3. But It was Nameless who got the first 2 rounds, so that means Nameless is our victor for this episode of Contesting the Point, 13 points to 12. Nameless, you have 60 seconds to pop off in our Astro Listen Up moment. What do you have to say to the people?
I just want to give a big congratulations to the New York Subliners for winning a tournament. Who thought that this year we'd see so many different champions? I thought it'd be forever. I thought I'd be, an old man before I saw Temp win his championship, and he finally gets his win with Mac as well, getting his first W. I just thought it was a fantastic moment and a fantastic victory. And for all you people out there who say that it doesn't count or that there's an asterisk next to it, it absolutely counts. These guys couldn't predict what was going to happen this year in the world, and they're dealing with the circumstance, and they get the W. So stop talking crap to these guys. Show them some support, and let's hold each other up, man. Let's show some love to our fellow COD competitors. So I just want to say big shout out to New York, and also big shout out to Temp, and also Revin as well. He's been, in the trenches for a while trying to get a win as a coach, and he gets a win, man. So shout out to them.
All right, everybody, that does it for this episode of Contesting the Point. Thanks to everybody for watching, and to Miles and Nameless for coming on the show once again. And guys, we got the London Home Series coming up at 10 a.m. Pacific this Friday. Make sure you tune in. And until then, guys, take it easy.